Revealed, how my son locked me away for 7 days, leading to an incredible life-changing discovery. It was a summer day in Maplewood, Kansas, a town that felt both safe and suffocating to James. The sun blazed fiercely, illuminating the small home he shared with his son, Tyler. Inside, the scent of burnt toast wafted through the air, a distant reminder of mornings filled with laughter that now felt like a memory from another lifetime. The laughter had faded after his wife's passing, leaving behind a hollow space that managed to grow with each passing day. James worked 2 jobs, battling exhaustion and wrapping himself in what felt like a cloak of responsibility. But every early morning and late night seemed to push him further from Tyler, who was now a distant echo of the boy who looked up to him. Now, the more James tried to provide, the more resentment bubbled beneath the surface. Tyler's eyes, once filled with admiration, now reflected disappointment. In the grip of these emotions, Tyler hatched an idea he believed was brilliant. One evening, after dinner, he locked his dad in the basement. What would happen if James couldn't escape his protective walls? What if he had to confront the pain he buried inside? Tyler believed that after 7 days, he would break through that facade. At first, James was furious. He pounded on the door, shouting for his son, but soon the fury twisted into something deeper: reflection. Alone in darkness, he felt the weight of his sacrifices bearing down on him, memories flooding his mind. Laughter erupted during summer fairs, where the whole community gathered, pies on display and families connecting over their shared joys. But now, there was silence, a void echoing the loneliness he lived with every night on those late shifts where sorrow wrapped around him like a cold blanket. As Tyler dealt with an unexpected crisis outside the community center was at risk of closing, he set his plan into motion. No longer just a teenager, he jumped into action, gathering neighbors to save a place that held memories for many. Could it be that in this fight for their beloved center, he could also bridge the emotional gap with his father? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With each passing hour in that basement, James felt the edges of his heart unraveling. He was no longer just a soldier, he was a father grieving a wound that never fully healed. The struggles he thought he could shield Tyler from were the very things that pulled them apart. Meanwhile, Tyler discovered his own strength, learning that perhaps his father needed saving, too. As the 7th day drew near, desperation surged within Tyler. Could he truly rally the town to save their center while locked in a power struggle with the man he loved most? The tension hung heavily in the air, and the question lingered: would James confront his pain and emerge ready to reconcile with Tyler, or would the shadows continue to shroud their relationship forever? The final night in the basement stretched on like an eternity for James. Each minute that ticked away felt heavier than the last. He had spent countless hours reflecting, piecing together fragments of joy and sorrow, yet clarity seemed distant. The darkness was more than just the absence of light, it was an enveloping silence, a cocoon where each breath echoed a loneliness he had hidden behind the busyness of life. Tyler paced outside, his heart racing with a mix of anxiety and determination. The community center meeting had gone well, neighbors rallied to share stories and dreams, igniting passion in their hearts. Yet, doubt gnawed at him. Would James ever understand his intentions? This isn't just about saving a building, Tyler thought. It was about saving them, about rebuilding what was lost. At midnight, James heard the soft sliding of the basement door. The timid light filtered in, revealing Tyler's silhouette. "Dad?" The tremor in his voice tugged at James's heartstrings. He wanted to say something, anything, but the words felt too big, too heavy to lift. I can get you out," Tyler whispered, his voice breaking. "I just need you to trust me." The plea hung in the air. Trust. It was a word that had been strained in their relationship, often slipping through their fingers like water. James looked into his son's eyes, searching for the boy who used to look at him in admiration. He could still see flickers of hope there, and it pulled at the corners of his heart. "Do you think I can save you?" Tyler continued, desperation creeping in. "You don't have to do this alone, Dad. I promised Mom I would take care of you." James closed his eyes briefly. The grief of losing his wife washed over him yet again. But there was something else, an awakening. Maybe it was the thought of his son's promise. Maybe it was the realization that he couldn't keep drowning himself in pain. Understanding began to seep through the cracks in his heart. He had been so busy being strong that he forgot it was okay to be weak. To be human. To feel. I'm scared, Ty," he finally admitted, his voice barely a whisper. "Scared about everything. About you, about us." Tyler stepped closer, his expression softening. "I'm scared too, Dad. But locking you away won't change that." In that moment, James knew his choice. He stood and moved towards the door. It felt different this time, lighter somehow, as if lifting away years of buried hurt. When he reached the doorway, he paused, looking into Tyler's earnest eyes. "I'm ready to talk." Tyler's face lit up, relief washing over him like a warm embrace. "Really? Just give me a minute, okay? I need to collect my thoughts." As James stepped into the light, the darkness behind him felt less suffocating. He saw neighbors gathered, their faces lit up with a mix of hope and joy. The warmth of community filled the air, whispering promises of connection and healing. But as darkness receded, he noticed something stirring beneath the surface: attention, the unspoken anxiety of what lay ahead. It was clear that while one battle was won, another loomed on the horizon. "Dad?" Tyler's voice brought him back to the moment. "We need to talk about everything that happened." With a deep breath, James took his son's hand, the weight of the past pressing down, but an ember of hope flickering deep within him. They had a long road ahead, intersected by grief and understanding. "What will we do now?" James asked, the question hanging as their journey unfolded toward a new beginning. And it was then two voices blurred together, the community rallying outside, echoing their need for connection. Would James and Tyler find their way amid the noise? James squeezed Tyler's hand, his heart racing. The noise from outside felt all-consuming, and for a brief moment, he was torn between the warmth of the community and the chill of what lay ahead. Voices rang with excitement and determination, yet within him stirred a sense of dread. "Do we really have to face them now?" he asked, looking down at their joined hands. He feared the vulnerability that lay beneath the surface. Sharing his pain meant exposing wounds, raw and freshly opened. "Yeah. They want to know you're all right," Tyler replied, his tone encouraging, though a flicker of worry flashed across his face. "It's not just about us, Dad. We're part of something bigger now." James took a deep breath, letting the air fill his lungs, grounding him in reality. He glanced back at the shadows of the basement, the remnants of his solitude. "Okay," he whispered, steeling himself for the storm of emotions. Tyler led him through the door, and as they stepped into the light, the outside world shifted into focus. The gathering of neighbors was a sea of familiar faces, all alight with hope and curiosity. Some smiled, others wore looks of relief, a few held back tears. It struck James how much he had missed by shutting himself away. How isolation had dulled his senses and muted joy. "James!" A woman's voice broke through the crowd. It was Mrs. Henderson, a neighbor he hadn't spoken to in months. "We were so worried." She rushed forward and enveloped him in a tight hug. The warmth of her embrace brought an unexpected surge of comfort, and he felt the walls around his heart crack just a little more. "I'm okay, really," he said, trying to reassure her, but the tremor in his voice betrayed him. "Are you?" "Because it sure didn't seem like it," another voice chimed in, this time from Mr. Collins, serious and intent. "You locked yourself away, and your son has been carrying this burden on his shoulders." James's eyes met Tyler's. The boy looked small but fierce, standing tall despite the weight of words he wished he didn't have to hear. "I had to try," Tyler said quietly, "but I can't do it alone anymore." A wave of emotion crashed over James, and he felt something stirring inside him, an urge to fight through the fear and speak his truth, to finally open up about the grief that felt eternal. "I've been lost," he began, his voice stronger now as he faced the gathering. "For too long, I thought I could handle it on my own. I thought if I just stayed busy, I wouldn't have to feel. But that's not how life works. I was hiding, and I lost sight of the people who care about me." The crowd listened, hanging on his words. He saw nods of understanding, faces softening as the truth flowed between them. "I'm sorry," James continued. "I'm sorry for shutting you all out, for shutting out my son. I see that now and I want to change that." "Welcome back," someone said in the crowd, and it was like a prism of hope surged through the air, enveloping them all. Tyler beamed, tears glistening in his eyes. "We're in this together, Dad." And in the warmth of that moment, a powerful realization gripped James. This wasn't just a path of healing for him alone, but a new chapter for their family and the community. As he stood before the faces of neighbors, he felt the flickering ember of hope transform into a roaring flame, yet, as the conversations bubbled over with unity and laughter, the shimmer of uncertainty remained. Was it truly enough? And what would happen next? As people began to share their own journeys, James felt a familiar weight in his gut, a hint of jealousy mixed with fear of stepping outside his comfort zone. "Dad," Tyler interrupted his thoughts, pulling him back to the present. "What about Mom? We should talk about her." Silence gripped the crowd as James's heart raced again. His wife's memory was a heavy stone, a reminder of everything that brought him here. "Yeah," he finally whispered, feeling the gravity of that conversation. "Let us talk about her." And just like that, the road unfurled before them, leading into an unknown filled with both fear and possibility. What memories would they share? What healing awaited them in the shadows of grief? James felt the weight of the crowd's anticipation. They were there, not just to support him, but to witness the unfolding of a shared story, a story that had been suspended in silence for far too long. He took a moment to collect himself, breathing deeply, letting the air settle around them. As he looked around, he saw familiar faces. Neighbors he had grown up with, friends from the old days, and even new faces filled with kindness. Their presence wrapped around him like a warm blanket, softening the sharp edges of his grief. Tyler squeezed his hand again, grounding him. "Mom," Tyler began, his voice breaking just slightly. "I remember the way she laughed. There it was, the first spark of a shared memory. It was like the sun coming out even on the cloudiest days." James nodded, his throat tightening as he felt those memories wash over him like a tide. "Yeah, and do you remember how she would cook in the summer? It was always chaotic, with flour everywhere. But the stuff she made, it felt like home even before we got to the table." A few in the crowd chuckled softly, their laughter a gentle push that eased some of the heaviness. Tyler continued, "I remember her trying to teach me how to ride my bike. It took forever, but when I finally did it, she was the first to cheer for me. Yeah. And when you fell, she was the first one there to pick you up, dust off your knees, and tell you to try again. That's how you learn," she always said, James added, his heart swelling with bittersweet pride. As they spoke, the memories began to flow freely, bringing with them both joy and sorrow. Each shared word built a bridge to the past, allowing their community to glimpse the vibrant life that once filled their home. Laughter intertwined with tears, a visceral reminder of how deeply intertwined love and loss truly were. "Mom taught me never to give up," Tyler said, wiping his eyes. "She kept pushing us to be our best selves. She believed in us, Dad." James felt a lump forming in his throat again. "And I lost sight of that. I lost sight of you and her, of everything that mattered." The crowd remained silent, captivated by the delicate balance of emotion. James could see understanding in their eyes, mirroring the shared pain and love that bound them all together. "We need to hold on to those memories," Tyler insisted, looking directly at his father. "They keep her alive, Dad. We can't let them fade away." A wave of determination swept over James as he replied, "You're right. We'll keep her memory alive in our hearts and through our stories." In that moment, a shared resolve began to ripple through the crowd. They were all connected by loss but also by the richness of love that remained. As James smiled at Tyler, he felt a sense of hope stir again, a promise that they could face this together, with the support of their neighbors. They weren't just surviving anymore, they were starting to thrive, together. But then a curious murmur broke through the ambience. Someone stepped forward, eyes wide, bursting with news. "Wait. I just heard something that might change everything." James's heart skipped at the urgency in their tone. He exchanged a look with Tyler, questions swirling in his mind. What could it be? What new revelation lay just beyond reach? As the crowd began to lean in closer, he realized that together, they were on the precipice of something even bigger than they could have ever imagined. The crowd held its collective breath, eyes fixed on the newcomer. There was an intensity in the air, a crackling energy that promised a revelation. James could feel the weight of all those eyes on him, each gaze woven thick with hope and curiosity. What did you hear?" Someone finally called out, breaking the tension. With a quick, nervous glance around, the speaker took a step closer. "I overheard some folks at the cafe talking about Mom's old friend, Marjorie. She called the cops on something that happened a week ago." James felt his heart thump harder in his chest. "What do you mean?" he managed to croak out. The cool air of the night suddenly felt stifling. "They said Marjorie knows something about that summer when the other person trailed off," as realization dawned in the crowd. Whispers floated through the throng like leaves caught in the wind, drawing everyone closer, all ears attuned to the suspended beat of the moment. Tyler's grip on James's hand tightened. "What summer? What happened?" He was trying to pull details from the storyteller, but they seemed stuck on a precipice of fear and uncertainty. "It's about a secret," the voice continued, trembling. "Something your mom was involved in. Something big. They think it's connected to her death." A quiet hush fell. All around them, hushed breaths mingled with shock and grief. James felt the color drain from his face. Could it be true? Had his wife carried a weight he never knew about? He thought there were layers of understanding to their life together that he had fully embraced, but now, doubt seeped in a crack in the foundation of all he believed he knew. Mom would never. Tyler's voice was low but filled with a desperate need to defend the memory of his mother. "She wouldn't keep anything important from us. She loved us." "I know," James replied, but uncertainty gnawed at him. "But if Marjorie knows something?" "Marjorie? I remember her." A voice from the crowd piped up, someone he barely recognized but knew enough to set the memory in motion. "She used to come over after book club. Sometimes, she would talk about the local politics. She always had her ear to the ground. Maybe she found something that could change all this," another voice murmured. The intermingling of ideas sparked a fire in the crowd, a determination born from shared grief and dwindling hope. "What do we do?" Tyler asked, looking up at James, his eyes wide with a mix of fear and resolve. "We need to find Marjorie," James said, his voice firming as he felt the urge to take control. "We should go to the cafe now. If she knows something, we can't let it slip away." A murmur of agreement spread like ripples in a pond. The crowd rallied around James and Tyler, voices rising, determination blending with the sorrow. "Let us do it," someone shouted, and the collective energy shifted, palpable and alive. As the crowd began to move, a new wave of emotion washed over James. They weren't just pushing through grief, this was a chance to reclaim truth, a path to perhaps healing deep wounds he didn't even know he carried. The cafe loomed closer in the distance, its lights cutting through the night like beacons. "Stay close," he urged Tyler. "What if it's too late?" Tyler whispered, vulnerability cracking his brave facade. James paused, eyes scanning the faces around him, their fight, their determination matching his. "It's never too late. We owe it to her to find out what really happened." With a determined nod, they pressed onward, into the unknown, fueled by hope and urgency. What secrets lay ahead? And could this journey lead them to the answers they so desperately sought? The night felt electric, pregnant with possibilities that echoed in the air, wrapping around them like a whispered promise. As they neared the cafe, a shadow flickered within. James felt a surge of trepidation. What would they discover once they stepped inside? The cafe door creaked open, letting out a gust of warm air that carried the rich aroma of brewed coffee. Inside, the chatter of patrons faded as James stepped in, his heart racing. It took a moment for his eyes to adjust to the dim light, but he was quickly drawn to a table in the back. There sat Marjorie, her silver hair catching the glow from a single lamp, a frown creasing her brow as she stirred her drink, lost in thought. "Marjorie!" James called, his voice shaking with urgency. The crowd surged behind him, a wall of unspoken questions and desperate hope. She looked up, startled at first, then a flicker of recognition danced in her eyes. "James? Tyler?" Her voice trembled slightly as she set her cup down. "I wasn't expecting. I thought you were. Could you tell us what you know?" Tyler interjected before James had the chance to continue. The rawness in Tyler's voice, tinged with desperation, pierced the air. Marjorie took a deep breath, the weight of their collective stare pressing on her. "I didn't want to get involved. I thought it was too dangerous." But now she glanced around, eyes darting to the crowd. "It seems that the truth won't stay buried." James took a step closer, heart pounding. "Just tell us what you know about the summer." "About Mom." Her hands trembled slightly as she fidgeted with her napkin. "There were rumors, whispers about things happening in our town. Bad things. Your mother, she was involved more than you can imagine. She was devoted to helping others, but sometimes that meant getting too close to danger." "Danger?" Tyler echoed, confusion lining his features. "What do you mean?" "It was the summer of the community project. Your mother was a key figure, trying to bring everyone together. But not everyone wanted that. People were threatened." Marjorie's voice dropped to a whisper. "It was serious, and your mom was caught in something she couldn't control." James felt his stomach lurch. "What happened?" The word itself felt heavy, laden with fear. Marjorie hesitated. "I was told she found something she shouldn't have. Information, hidden things that could ruin lives. She discovered a plan buried beneath the surface, something involving powerful people in our community." Each word cut deeper, revealing a truth that felt so far removed from the loving mother he remembered. Tyler's breath hitched, his expression a mix of disbelief and grief. "Mom wouldn't have kept that from us. She would have told us if she was scared." Marjorie's sad eyes locked onto Tyler's. "She thought she could shield you from the danger. She believed she had time. But when things escalated, when they found out," the silence stretched as James sank into a whirlwind of emotions. Each revelation piled into a growing dread he couldn't escape. "What do we do now?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper, choked with adrenaline and concern. "We need to dig deeper," Marjorie said, her resolve returning. "I have documents, things your mother gave me for safekeeping. If we can piece it together, we might find the truth. But you have to be prepared. This may lead us down a dark path." James squared his shoulders, grip around Tyler's hand tightening. They had come too far to turn back now. "We're ready for whatever it takes." But just as he spoke, the cafe door swung open with a bang. A figure stepped inside, cloaked in shadows, immediately drawing the crowd's attention. A shiver crawled up James's spine as recognition flashed in his mind. Could this person be part of the danger Marjorie mentioned? What were they willing to do to stop the truth from being uncovered? "Stay together," James whispered urgently, as the figure paused, scanning the room. The air thickened with tension. Something monumental was about to unfold. Would they finally uncover their mother's past, or would someone succeed in silencing them forever? The figure stood at the entrance, a shadow against the soft glow of the cafe. James's heart raced as he tried to decipher the outline. Was it someone from the past? Someone who knew their mom? Or was it something much worse? Marjorie's voice broke through his thoughts. "We need to leave. Now." Tyler's eyes darted between James and Marjorie, confusion and fear mingling on his face. "What do you mean?" "We can't just trust me, we're not safe here." Her urgency was palpable. James felt the tremor in her voice, echoing the anxiety tightening inside him. Without waiting another moment, Marjorie turned and moved swiftly toward the back exit. James and Tyler hesitated only for a heartbeat before following. As they moved, the cafe seemed to pulse with a life of its own, conversations fading into whispers and nervous glances cast toward the door. Once outside, the cool night air settled on their skin, but it did little to ease the heat forming inside James's chest. They hurried down the street, the clump of their footsteps muffled against the concrete. "Where do we go?" Tyler asked, his breath coming in short pants. The illumination from street lamps created a spattering of light as the shadows danced, heightening James's sense of foreboding. Marjorie quickened her pace. "We need to get to my place. It's safe there." Her voice, firm yet shaken, gave James a fleeting sense of comfort. If they could just get to Marjorie's, maybe they could piece together the puzzle of their mother's life before it slipped through their fingers. As they rounded the corner, Marjorie paused and pressed her back against the brick wall, glancing over her shoulder, brow furrowed with concern. "I don't think we're alone." James and Tyler exchanged uneasy looks. "What do you mean?" Tyler asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Someone followed us out," she murmured, eyes wide and searching. A chill washed over James. He felt it too, the sensation of being watched. His instincts kicked in. "We need to keep moving." They picked up the pace, weaving through the quiet streets, their heartbeats loud against the unnerving silence. The farther they went, the easier it became to breathe, but the warning in Marjorie's voice lingered in his mind. What if they weren't safe? What if the danger was closer than they feared? It was too long before they reached Marjorie's house, a modest dwelling enveloped by shadows. Once inside, she locked the door behind them with a determined click that echoed through the small space. James felt a momentary sense of relief wash over him, but it was short-lived. Marjorie gestured for them to follow her into a cramped study brimming with papers. "This is it," she said, shuffling through stacks of folders like a frantic archaeologist digging for lost treasures. "These documents, your mother's notes, correspondence, she kept everything. If we can go through them, we can find the answers, but we must be quick." James leaned closer, scanning the titles, his heart aching with the hope of unlocking truths about his mother. But just as he reached for a folder labeled with their family name, a loud crashing sound echoed from the living room. All three of them froze, their hearts pounding in unison. Someone was in the house. "Stay quiet," Marjorie hissed, her voice barely a breath. She swiftly dimmed the lights, casting the room into a profound darkness. Tension brewed like a storm, filling the air, and James felt his pulse quicken. Who could it be? Was it the same figure from the cafe? Were they coming to silence them? With barely a whisper, they huddled together, hearts racing as the sound of footsteps approached. What secrets lay buried within those papers? Would they be free to discover them, or had they just walked into an even greater danger? Marjorie held her breath, her fingers gripping the edge of the desk, knuckles pale beneath the strain. James could feel the weight of her tension in the heavy air pressing down on them. Tyler's eyes grew wide, darting from Marjorie to James, silently asking what they were going to do next. The footsteps grew nearer, a slow, deliberate rhythm that sent chills crawling up James's spine. He could hear the creak of the floorboards in the living room, each sound magnified, echoing in their hidden corner. "We can't just wait." Tyler's voice trembled as he whispered, "What if they find us?" "Shoo!" Marjorie hissed again, this time with a fierceness that cut through the fear. A moment later, a shadow danced across the crack beneath the door. Panic surged in James's chest. The figure moved closer, their presence felt even in the dark. "Do you think it's them?" James whispered, straining to listen to the muffled sounds beyond the door. Marjorie steadied herself. "We have to hide now." She grabbed a stack of papers and shoved them toward Tyler. "Take these. If anything happens, you have to get this to someone who can help." Before Tyler could respond, Marjorie motioned for them to crawl under the desk. It was cramped, and they held themselves still, breaths shallow and hearts racing, each noise outside amplifying their fear. James could feel the warmth of Marjorie's leg pressed against his. He wanted to reach out, to comfort her, but it felt futile in the face of potential danger. The door to the living room creaked open, and the figure stepped into the hallway silhouetted against the faint light from the street. James strained to see more, but all he could make out was a dark shape, moving slowly, deliberately. "Mom?" The figure called, voice low but filled with an unsettling familiarity. It couldn't be. His heart thudded painfully. But something about that voice, it pulled at him, scratching against the wall of fear that enveloped him. Just keep quiet, Marjorie muttered, her body stiff with anxiety. James shot a glance toward Tyler, who appeared equally bewildered. Mom. The figure called again, and James could hear the edge of desperation in that voice. Footsteps moved closer. The tension thickened, stifling their air supply. Maybe it's someone looking for her, Tyler whispered, disbelief flickering across his face. But even he didn't sound convinced. Then it hit him. The voice, the way it twisted around the syllables of Mom, it echoed something long buried in the back of his mind. Memories rushed back, pieces of a childhood that were hazy and distant, yet heartbreaking. That voice was undeniably familiar, an echo of love wrapped in confusion and sorrow. Is that Dad? James murmured, eyes widening in horror. Marjorie's expression changed, a type of recognition lighting up her face. I can't believe it, she whispered back, eyes darting between James and the door. It can't be him. He left. He's not supposed to be here. Why now? Tyler asked, panic creeping into his voice. What does he want? The shadow moved closer, appearing at the edge of the doorway. He finally stepped into the light, and James's mouth fell open. It was indeed him, his father, looking older yet still the same man he remembered from years ago. James? His father's voice broke, filled with unshed tears and vulnerability. You have to understand. Tension crackled in the air like static electricity, mixing fear with unexpected hope. The moment stretched, teetering on the brink of everything James thought he knew about his family. Suddenly, a loud knock echoed from the front door, sharp and relentless, cutting through the scene like a knife. Get down. Marjorie commanded, but the moment was slipping away. Who was at the door? Would the past finally break through? James's heart raced as the echo of the knock lingered in the air. A heavy silence enveloped the room, thick enough to choke on. His father stood there, eyes wide with desperation, a ghost from his past wrapped in regret. The flicker of recognition in his voice was both alarming and familiar, as if an old wound had been pried open. Marjorie pulled at James's sleeve, urging him to stay low. Tyler was frozen, his gaze darting nervously from the door to James's father. The connection between them was palpable, a thread stretching across years of silence and pain. James, I need you to listen to me. His father pleaded, taking a hesitant step forward. Please, I never wanted this to happen. I had to come back. It's important. Another knock, louder this time, reverberated through the hallway. The urgency in that sound made James's skin crawl. He had waited too long for answers, but now, standing face to face with his father, he found himself torn. He wanted to believe him, to understand, but shadows of betrayal loomed large. Who's at the door? Dad, what is going on? James demanded, his voice barely above a whisper as he peeked out from beneath the desk. I can't explain right now. Just trust me, his father replied, rising to the edges of panic. There was a tremor in his voice that resonated with the boy he once knew. James saw the fear in his father's eyes, a reflection of his own unrest. Each knock grew louder, accompanied by a muffled voice calling his father's name. David. Open up. We know you're in there. James felt Marjorie's hand tightening on his leg, her fingers pressing into him as they shared the thrill of fear. We need to think. If they're looking for him, we can't let them in, she whispered, her eyes flitting from the door back to his father, who was clearly battling his own demons. His father's expression shifted, anger mixing with sadness. I can't let them take me again. You don't know what they'll do, James. What do you mean? James's pulse quickened. Who are they? But before his father could respond, the door burst open, a figure silhouetted against the hallway light. It was a woman, her features sharp and menacing, her voice dripping with authority. David. You are in violation of the terms. You have to come with us. No. His father snapped, taking a protective stance in front of James and Marjorie. The tension in the room spiked, and it felt like the air itself had turned electric. "Dad, please. What is happening?" James felt his throat tighten, nearly choking on the weight of confusion and fear. "Listen to me, James. You have to believe me when I say that I've changed. I've come back to protect you." "Protect us from what?" James asked, feeling the ground beneath him shift with each revelation. Another voice joined the first, a harsh tone cutting through the air. "David, you need to come peacefully. This is your last chance." Tyler glanced at Marjorie, wide-eyed. "What if they're going to do something bad?" The woman's face grew impatient. "We don't have all night. This is for your own good." James's heart thundered in his chest. He wanted to scream, to run, but he felt trapped by the weight of his father's plea and the looming fear of the unknown. "Dad!" James shouted, pulling his father's attention. "What do you need to protect us from? Just tell me." A silence fell over the group, time seeming to freeze as James hoped this moment held the answers he desperately needed. His father turned toward him, eyes wide with fear and sincerity. "I promise we'll talk about it all, but right now, you need to trust me." As another figure appeared in the doorway behind the woman, James realized the stakes were higher than he ever imagined. Would they all be forced into a situation they weren't prepared for? What had they walked into? Would the truth finally emerge, and could he trust the man he'd barely known? The weight of his father's words loomed heavier than the shadows surrounding them, and James felt the fragile tether of family unraveling before him. But before he could think further, a voice from the doorway called out an unexpected name that sent a chill down his spine. "James! Are you in there?" His breath caught. Who else had come looking for him? James's heart raced as he recognized the voice. It was Claire, he whisper-shouted, instinctively stepping forward to the edge of the desk. The familiar name sent a wave of conflicting emotions crashing over him. Why was she here? What did she want? Just as he felt a mix of relief and confusion, his father grabbed his shoulder, pulling him back down. "Stay hidden. You don't understand," his father urged, his voice trembling with urgency. "But she's my friend." James protested, inclining his head toward the doorway, wanting to reassure Claire that he was okay. Yet, the fear in his father's eyes warned him to keep quiet. "James!" Claire called again, her voice laced with worry. "I know you're in there. They're looking for you. Please, we need to leave, now." "Don't," his father said sharply. "They want to take you. We can't let them get you." The firm conviction in his father's voice felt unsettling. Who exactly was they? What exactly had David got mixed up in? "James!" Claire's voice cracked, filled with desperation. "Please answer. We're all outside. It's not safe for you in there." The urgency of her plea sliced through the confusion. James exchanged glances with Marjorie and Tyler, their expressions mirroring his struggle. Could he trust his father, or would stepping away from this hidden corner lead him into a new danger? Clenching his fists, he finally whispered to Marjorie, "We should let her in." "Are you insane?" Marjorie shot back. She doesn't know, but another knock rang through the door, drawing all eyes back to the shadow poised outside. "James, open up. Please. I can't let them take you." His heart simmered with indecision. Torn between the unknown danger in the room and the warmth of Claire's unwavering voice calling for him, the world seemed to slow. "I have to know the truth." With newfound courage igniting within him, he pushed himself under the desk and crawled out into the dimly lit room. "Open the door, James," his father's voice cracked with urgency. "We can't trust her." "James." Claire's voice became distant, fading behind their exchanges. What if she could help? What if she could pull him out of this whirlwind of chaos? He took a deep breath, gathering strength from within. "I'll choose for myself," he declared, moving toward the door. He reached for the knob, adrenaline racing through his veins as he turned it slowly. The door creaked open, revealing Claire's anxious face, lit faintly by the streetlights outside. Her wide eyes were filled with relief, and she practically leaped forward to him. "James!" she exclaimed softly, pulling him into a tight hug. "Claire," he breathed, relief flooding him. But behind her, the figures loomed in the dim light, their presence felt like a storm. Just as he released her, the woman stepped forward, her expression fierce. "James, you need to come with us. It's for your safety." Safety? Or control? James shot back, anger surging through him. "You don't get to make that decision for me." The tension in the room mounted as eyes darted back and forth, confusion and fear building like a wave. Claire turned to James, her gaze steadying. "You don't have to go with them. I came to get you. I'm not leaving without you." David stepped forward protectively. "Listen to your father, James. Life has changed. This isn't about you anymore." "You don't understand the danger." "No," James yelled, cutting him off. "You don't understand. I have the right to choose." His heart raced as reality began to crystallize. He had spent so long locked away from the truth about his mother, about his father, and even about himself. Would he let fear dictate his future? In that pivotal moment, something inside him shifted. "I'm done running from what happened to my family. I'll face it." David's eyes widened, and with a deep breath, he stepped back, uncertainty flickering in his expression. Could it be possible for father and son to mend the wounds of their past? The woman's voice cut back in. "Then you need to come with us, James. Now." "No." Claire interjected, stepping protectively in front of James. "Let him decide their fate. Let him confront his past. On his own terms." Tension hung in the air. The weight of impending choices built with each second passing like a pendulum. James could feel Claire's grounding presence next to him, a lifeline in a moment of chaos. Finally, with the louder knock of authority echoing in the hall, James turned to Claire. "Will you stand with me?" "I'll stand by your side no matter what," she affirmed, her voice steady and true. "Then let us find the truth together." And as he spoke those words, enveloped by the warmth of community and connection, a newfound strength bloomed within him like dawn breaking after the longest night. The confrontation that lay ahead would be daunting, but with Claire, his father, and Tyler beside him, maybe they could work through the shadows. James took a step forward, embracing their intertwined fates. "Let us uncover what's hidden together." In that instant, he knew they were not just stepping into the unknown, they were stepping toward a future filled with possibility and hope, ready to face whatever darkness remained. Now, it's your turn to stand together in unity and transformation. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, it truly makes a difference. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this incredible ending. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.